Why does Spring create object for you, inject dependencies automatically, and still keep your application loosely coupled? The answer is Spring Core Annotations. With just a few annotations, Spring decides what to create, when to create, and how to wire everything together. Without XML, without manual object creation, and without tight coupling. In this video, we will break down the core annotations that make this possible and understand how Spring actually thinks. The problem Spring solves. In a traditional Java application, you create objects manually. You decide when they are created, how they are connected, and how long they will live. That works until the application grows. Spring flips this responsibility. Instead of your code managing objects, the framework does. And annotations are the language you use to communicate intent to Spring. The component is the entry point into Spring container. When Spring scans your project and finds this annotation, it creates an instance of that class and keeps it ready for use. For an example, we have created email service class and marked it at the rate component. At this moment, email service is no longer your object. It is a managed bin. Service repository controller. Spring doesn't just manage objects, it understands their rules. That's why at the rate of component has specialization. Service represents the business logic, repository represents the data access, and controller it represents request handling. Technically, this works like component. Conceptually, they make your application self-documenting. Auto-wired dependency injection. Once Spring owns your object, it can also connect them. At the rate of auto-wire tells Spring this class depends on something. Find it and inject it. In this example, in order service, we have auto-wired payment service. Spring looks inside its container and finds the matching bin. Here that is payment service and inject it automatically. Constructor injection, the preferred way. Modern Spring favors constructor injection. Why? Because dependencies become explicit, immutable, and test friendly. Here you can see the payment service is getting injected through constructor. No annotation needed, Spring already knows what to do. Qualifier annotation. What happens when Spring finds multiple bins of the same type? It is top guessing. That's where qualifier comes in. For the example, we have two classes UPI payment and card payment. Both implement same interface payment. To avoid confusion, we have given a name to each component. For UPI payment, we have given component name UPI payment. Same goes for the card payment. While injecting dependency, we just use the qualifier and given that specific name to the qualifier. Here we are using API payment to inject the dependency. You are not changing logic, you are guiding the container. Configuration and bin annotation. Sometimes you don't own the class, sometimes you want full control. That's when you use Java based configuration. For example, app config class is annotated with at the rate of configuration that tells Spring it is a configuration class. We have created email service method where we annotated it with at the rate of bin that tells Spring how exactly to create the object and Spring still manages its lifecycle. Value annotation in real application don't have hard-coded values. At the rate of value, connect your bins to the external configuration. Here, we have DB URL and DB username that is defined into application.properties file. Through at the rate of value, we use to connect it and assign the actual value. That keeps code clean, configuration stays flexible. Bin lifecycle, post construct and pre-destroy annotations. We already covered these annotations in our previous video, Spring Bin Lifecycle. However, we'll quickly go through these annotations. Spring doesn't create bin, it manages their life cycle. Post construct we use before initializing the bin for the specific work. Pre-destroy annotation we use before destroying the bin for cleanup purpose. Now we understand Spring annotations. They are not shortcuts, they are instructions. They tell Spring how to build your application, how to connect its parts, and how to manage them over time. Once you understand these annotations, Spring stops feeling magical and starts feeling predictable. In the next video, we will explore AOP, Spring Aspect Oriented Programming. Thank you for watching, and as always, keep learning, keep building. Thank you, signing off.